The presenters, Burguer and Hellen Cruz, discuss the history of the parade, which began in 1929 as a way to celebrate the Italian-American heritage. The podcast also discusses the controversies surrounding the figure of Columbus, including his participation in the exploration and treatment of indigenous populations, and the growing movement to replace Columbus Day with Indigenous Peoples Day. The program also addresses the evolution of the parade, which may include more educational elements about Italian-American history, in addition to highlighting the importance of the Italian-American community in New York. At the end, the presenters answer questions from listeners about the accessibility of the parade for families and about the possibility of changing the name of the event.
All right, so you want to dive deep into Columbus Day in NYC. Talk about perfect timing.
Seriously, the parade's going on right now.
Like we're catching history in action.
Yeah, it's wild how a parade can be about so much more than just marching, you know?
Oh, absolutely.
It's history, it's culture.
And controversy.
All rolled into one.
It's like a snapshot of the city, but
with all these layers underneath.
like we're peeling back.
Exactly. And when you look at Columbus Day in NYC, you can't separate it from Italian-American history.
It's so deeply connected.
Totally. We're not just talking about the spectacle.
Right. It's not just floats and music and...
It's about a community finding its place.
making a statement.
You got it. Think about it back in 1929, when the Columbus Citizens Foundation first put this thing together.
1929, New York City.
The Great Depression was on its way.
And Italian Americans were fighting for acceptance, for respect.
Absolutely.
This parade, it wasn't just a celebration.
Not at all.
It was a declaration like, hey, we're here.
A part of this city.
We're proud of where we come from.
It was huge.
And wanted their voices heard.
And they were, loud and clear. This parade was massive.
A sea of people, a show of strength, even with all the challenges they faced.
Exactly. They were resilient, they were proud, and they wanted everyone to know it.
And it worked, right? I mean, look at the impact it had.
Oh, for sure. It brought Italian Americans together.
Solidified their place in the city.
You nailed it.
Created this incredible tradition that's still going strong today.
And that's the beauty of it. It's evolved, it's changed over time.
But that core message of pride, of belonging,
That's remained.
it's powerful.
Absolutely. Think about those colorful floats, each one representing a different part of Italy.
The marching bands, the music, the costumes,
It's this vibrant celebration of Italian heritage.
and a testament to how strong that community is.
Couldn't have put it better myself.
But like with a lot of historical figures, things get complicated.
Oh, yeah.
And that's where this deep dive gets even more interesting, I think. We've got to unpack the controversies surrounding Columbus himself,
Right.
how our understanding of history has changed,
And is changing.
and this whole movement to replace Columbus Day with Indigenous Peoples Day.
Can't forget about that.
Then there's the Columbus statue and Columbus Circle,
Oh, that's a big one.
such a powerful symbol of this whole debate.
Absolutely. We're talking about heritage. We're talking about difficult truths.
How do we remember the past? How do we celebrate in a way that feels right today?
Those are some big questions, and we're going to tackle them head on.
And of course, we have to see what this all means for the future of the parade itself.
No doubt. How's it adapting? How's it changing with the times?
It's a window into how we deal with tradition in a world that's constantly evolving.
It's going to be a fascinating ride, that's for sure.
So we've talked about the parade, the energy, the history.
The Italian-American pride, for
Right.
sure.
Really.
But there's another side to this story.
Yeah, Columbus part. For a long time, he was the hero, right? The guy who discovered America.
The explorer, the legend. But
But history is complicated.
it is.
Our understanding changes.
And we learn more.
And suddenly, that hero story, not so simple anymore.
Not so simple at all.
Especially when we talk about his impact on Indigenous people.
Right, that's a huge piece of this.
His arrival in the Americas, it wasn't just about exploration.
No, it set off this chain of events.
Colonization, exploitation.
Suffering.
And we can't ignore that.
Absolutely not.
So when we talk about controversy around Columbus Day, this is where it gets real,
It goes beyond just a date on the calendar.
right? There's a whole movement to replace it,
With Indigenous Peoples Day.
to acknowledge the harm that was done.
And honor Indigenous cultures and histories.
And it's gaining momentum.
It really is.
I mean, President Biden recognized Indigenous Peoples Day.
Officially
Cities are changing the holiday.
making a statement.
And in New York, that debate is playing out in a really visible way.
Oh, yeah. How so?
The Columbus statue in Columbus Circle.
Right. That's a perfect example of this tension we're talking about.
It's like this physical representation of the debate itself.
Exactly. On one hand, you've got Italian-American heritage.
Pride in their history.
And their contributions to the city.
But on the other hand,
you've got this symbol of colonialism.
Of oppression.
A reminder of a painful past for many.
And it forces us to ask these tough questions.
Like, how do we remember our history?
Who do we choose to celebrate?
How do we make space for everyone's story?
And do our celebrations today reflect our values?
The big questions.
And they all tie back to the parade.
Because it's not just a celebration.
It's a reflection of us.
Of our history.
Our changing understanding of that history.
And the complexities of it all.
It's like this amazing, messy crossroads.
Where tradition and change collide.
Where the past meets the present.
And we have to figure out how to move forward together.
It's a conversation that's just getting started, really. So where do we go from here? It's like we're at this crossroads, right?
Totally. We've got history, culture, all these different perspectives.
What happens to a tradition like this, the Columbus Day Parade?
In a world that's like rethinking everything.
Exactly.
It's a tough one, for sure.
It is.
But you know what I find interesting?
What's that?
The Columbus Citizens Foundation, the ones behind the parade.
Yeah.
They're not shying away from this, not at all.
Really?
They're actually leaning in.
Interesting. So they're not ignoring the controversy?
No way. They're using it as an opportunity.
To what, like change the conversation?
To broaden it, for sure. They've started to bring in more educational stuff.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, like they're trying to tell more complete story of Italian-American history.
Not just about Columbus.
Exactly.
So it's like acknowledging that he's part of it.
He's there.
There's so much more to it.
Right. They're highlighting other contributions, other achievements.
Centuries of history.
Art, science, politics, you name it.
It's Italian-American history, but it's also American history.
Exactly. They're making that connection so clear.
Which is awesome. It's like they're taking something that could be divisive.
Oh, yeah.
And turning it into...
a learning moment.
Yeah. A chance for dialogue, for understanding.
And I think that's powerful, you know?
It is.
Because they're not erasing the past. They're not denying it.
They're acknowledging the complexities.
But they're also celebrating their heritage.
They're doing both.
And as part of this bigger thing that's happening, you know?
How so?
This whole reevaluating history thing.
Oh, yeah, that's happening everywhere.
Globally, people are asking tough questions.
About who we choose to celebrate and why.
And how we celebrate.
And how we tell those stories.
It's like we're all holding up these historical figures, these events, to a new light, you know?
Totally. It's like that saying, the more you learn,
the more you realize you don't know.
Exactly. And look where we started, with a parade.
And here we are talking about identity, history, the future.
It's wild.
Speaking of the parade, did you know right now, Fifth Avenue is closed off?
No way for the parade.
Big time. From 42nd to 72nd Street.
Whoa, that's a huge chunk of the city.
Talk about a visual reminder.
Seriously, it's like the city itself is caught in the middle of this.
I love that. And it makes you think, all those street closures,
yeah,
all those detours, people trying to get around.
It's like this physical manifestation of the parade's impact.
Exactly. And the conversations it sparks.
It's kind of amazing when you think about it like that.
It is. Because it's not just about Columbus, is it?
No, it's not just about him.
It's about all of us, really.
How we choose to remember, how we deal with these complex issues.
And how we move forward.
Well said.
Thanks.
So, to everyone listening, next time you're navigating closed streets,
or watching a parade,
or even just thinking about history,
take a moment.
Think about the layers, the different sides to every story.
The questions we're all grappling with.
It's a fascinating deep dive.
It really is.
And that wraps up our deep dive into Columbus Day in NYC.
Hope you enjoyed it.
We'll see you next time.
Keep those questions coming.
Thank you once again for listening. If you enjoyed this chat, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, and activate the notification bell because we'll be back at any moment.